So Ian spoke a lot about the necessity to combine both mind and emotion, and that's going to be what Lear draws off of Aristotle and his account on emotion. He believes that the mind is a constantly developing structure where the thought and mind are combined and unified. So for Aristotle, although emotion makes a claim for its own rationality, like when you feel a bodily response or you have a certain innate emotion or feeling as soon as something happens to you, you can't really fully interpret or understand what's going on around you without being able to express the justification or come to terms of why you're feeling that way. So he goes on to move to say that emotions are what or where we feel the response, and it's in correlation with the context around us or the present world that is entrenched with many different beliefs and perceptions about what we're feeling. So our emotions are what are provoked out of that particular situation that we're surrounded by. So he says that emotions do not simply represent internal states or bodily impulses, but they're tied to the external world. So basically, to me, this was saying that like we can't feel emotional about something without being in relation to the context. Our emotional responses are directly intertwined with the way we understand the world around us. And then he continues to say that one of our faults is that quite often we're oblivious to this connection that's going on. We're not quite sure why we're feeling the way we are or why our innate reaction was the way that it was. So he is setting us on this task to try and interpret why it is the way that we are feeling this way and kind of come to terms with this kind of lack of understanding on why we may react emotionally to a certain situation. So basically, this interpretive task he's setting us on made me kind of come up with like different questions I would ask myself in response to an emotion just within my own mind. What emotion is it that I'm having? Recognize what the emotion is, what the implications of that emotion may be, why I'm having the emotion that I am, so therefore drawing into the context and the world around me and the different perceptions and beliefs I may have on the topic. And then what are the implications within the context itself? So why is this context influencing this certain emotion that I'm having? And what does that say about what I believe or perceive the world around me to be like? So the easiest way that I could understand this was related to something that happened in my own life. So I came up with an example about my past. When I was in 8th grade, I competed at the varsity level in high school swimming, and I finished the season with winning states at the high school level. My coach, my family, my competitors, and all my audience, as well as myself, were completely shocked. I felt disbelief and happiness, obviously, at the same time. This was also, to give you some contextual background, it was the first time in New York State high school swimming history that has ever been accomplished. So when I touched the wall at the end of the race, I looked at the scoreboard, and initially a million different emotions obviously infiltrated my mind and my body. I was shaking, I was nervous. I couldn't even get out of the water. My teammates came and got me out. And initially I thought, well, yeah, of course I'm going to be shocked. I'm going to be happy. This was unexpected by myself, my audience, my coach, my competitors. I never even considered this a possibility of happening. And it wasn't until I saw the response of everyone else as well that it kind of really began to sink in, and I tried to think like, okay, why is everybody reacting, same way I am? This happened to me. Like, if it's having this effect, like, there's got to be a reason why the context is setting that up for everybody. So it wasn't until months and years later that I didn't really realize the enormity of what had been accomplished. To me, it was, okay, great, this happened to me, wow, big deal. Now swim season's over, I'm done. I don't swim anymore, it's not a big deal. And I continued to get worse throughout my high school years, so I figured, it represented the greatest accomplishment in my swimming career, but also represented, the continuing downfall from there on out. It wasn't until recently that I heard through the grapevine that an 8th grader was actually very close last year to winning an individual state title. And it wasn't until I felt an emotion of jealousy that I realized that that I definitely didn't appreciate or realize what exactly it was that I had accomplished in the past. So taking into context not only what had happened, but like the situation around me, and then beginning to interpret and understand like why I felt that way, and then why now it still affects me, gave me a further understanding of the way that I felt. So to me, that really was an example of what they're talking about, especially how Castley is drawing on Lear and Aristotle's ideas of like combining the two in order to get a full understanding of the world around you and bringing that into your reasoning with your emotions.